Hey beautiful souls, welcome back to the Glow From Within series, an 8-part series where I teach you how to truly glow up from within. If you're new here, you're probably ready to heal and let go of all the past pain. And I want you to know that you are in the very right place. Now, we all have a moment in our life. There comes a moment in everyone's life where they realize that the past is holding them hostage. And you know exactly what I mean. Those past memories that randomly just pop up and make you cringe, or the past mistakes that keep you up all night, or the painful experiences that linger no matter how much time has passed. That one moment, that one mistake, or that one person who hurt you, it stays in your mind, taking up space and stealing your peace. But holding on to the past does not change it only keeps you stuck. And I know you are ready to move forward. For the longest time, I thought that moving on just meant ignoring things. I told myself if I stayed busy enough or distracted myself, it would eventually fade. But that is not how it works. The more that you try to push something away, the more power it has over you. You could be having the best possible day, and suddenly a thought just creeps in, pulling you right back into the old feeling. But here's what you need to know. Your past is not who you are. What you've been through does not decide your future. Please understand that. The mistakes that you make do not make you unworthy of happiness or success or anything. You are worthy of it all. You're not broken, you're not stuck, and you're definitely not beyond healing. But if you want to truly glow up from within, you have to stop letting the past take up space in your life. You have to make peace with it and take your power back. That is exactly what we're going to do today. So grab a journal, get comfortable, and let's talk about emotional healing. Hi, if you're new here, my name is Krishi, and on this side of the internet, we talk all about leveling up, mindset shifts, self-growth, and stepping into a life that's already yours. You just have to learn how to align with it. So let's make that happen together. Now, I know letting go is one of the hardest things we can do, not because we enjoy suffering, but because we crave that closure. When something painful happens, whether it's a breakup, a betrayal, or a personal failure, our minds keep replaying that over and over again, trying to just make sense of it, wondering why it happened or what we could have done differently and how to make sure that it never happens again. Our brains are wired to seek resolution. They don't care if reliving the past makes us miserable in day-to-day basis. They only care about survival, and in their attempt to protect us from future pain, they keep us stuck in cycles of overthinking, regret, and self-doubt. Think about a moment in your life, for example, where you were probably in a room and you felt humiliated because you were in a room full of people and someone said something that made you feel small, or maybe that you made a mistake, like you fell down or you made a mistake and everyone laughed for 2 seconds, but you continue to replay that in your head even years later because it felt so defining in that moment. But those people, the people around you, they moved on and that moment was insignificant to them. Yet you carried it with you, letting it shape how you see yourself and dictate your complete confidence as well as the way you show up in the world, because it felt like a very defining moment to you in your own head. However, just because something felt big at the time does not mean that it deserves to have power over you even today. As painful as it may have been, it's still just a moment in time, and you get to decide whether you let it stay in the past where it belongs or whether you continue to carry it with you as a part of your identity in the present day. Please understand this fact that your brain, it's scientifically proven, is wired to protect you. When something painful happens, your mind holds on to it in a way to prevent future pain like that. But instead of protecting you, it actually traps you in the cycle of reliving the same hurt over and over again with absolutely no reason to. Each time that you replay that memory, you reinforce the belief that the past still has control over you. Think about a movie like The Lion King. Simba spends years running from his past because he believes it defines him. He convinces himself that his mistakes are too big to overcome, but the moment that he stops running and faces his past, what happens? He realizes that he's not his failures. He is not his pain. He's much more than that. He's much more than what happened. And the same goes for you. You are not the mistakes you have made or the pain that you have experienced. You are the person who has survived through it. Think about it. You have survived through it. You've had your own set of problems and you've gone through it. You've learned, and now you have a power with that knowledge to create a new story moving forward. Okay, now let's get into how you can move from the past and heal emotionally. One of the most impactful methods starts right here in your mind. You need to change your inner dialogue, and that is how you'll change the way you see the past. Your past is not about the events that happened to you, it's about the meaning that you attach to those events. If you keep revisiting painful moments and memories and using them as a proof to reconfirm to yourself that you're broken or unworthy, your brain will reinforce that belief. The way that you interpret your past shapes how you experience your present and how you will move forward in life from then on. But the good news is that you have the power in your hands to change the narrative. Your brain is not set in stone. It's constantly adapting and rewriting itself through a process called neuroplasticity. Now, studies show that when you constantly choose to reframe those negative beliefs or reframe those negative experiences, you weaken the emotional charge that they have attached to them. And in the moment, if they seem strong, you can actually train your brain to let go of that emotional feeling behind them and create new, healthier thought patterns. This means that even the most painful experiences, which feel like the most painful heartbreak, you can actually move on from it. Instead of telling yourself that something terrible happened to you and that it defines you, shift your mindset and say, this happened and I grew because of it. Instead of dwelling on wasted time with the wrong people, remind yourself that now I have the clarity on what I want and what I will not tolerate. Instead of seeing yourself as abandoned, please recognize that you were redirected towards people who truly value you. That is why I say that your inner dialogue shapes your reality every single day. The words that you speak to yourself influence whether you stay stuck in the past or step forward in the future with strength and wisdom. You cannot change what happened, but you can change what it means to you, and the shift is what sets you free. Next step to emotionally heal is to regulate your nervous system. Stop reliving those past trauma. You can actually regulate your nervous system as you go on. So what happens is when you experience emotional pain, your brain automatically activates a sympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for the body's flight or fight situation or response. This triggers a cascade of physical and emotional reactions. Then your heart starts racing, or your muscles may tense up, your breathing becomes shallow, and your thoughts could spiral out of control. And the problem is that your brain cannot differentiate between a past traumatic event or a real one that is happening in the present day. This is why you can be in a perfectly safe environment in the present moment, but still feel the same stress, fear, or sadness as if the painful memory is happening all over again. Every time that you dwell or sit in these past experiences, your body relives the event. That's so toxic for your body and it's so taxing on it. So over time, this can lead to chronic stress, anxiety, and even physical symptoms like fatigue, headaches, and digestive issues. And now, to truly heal from past trauma, you must learn how to regulate your nervous system. Time and time again, it's a process you need to keep doing and break the cycle of stress responses. This means that you need to shift your body from the flight or fight kind of mode to the parasympathetic mode, which is the rest and digest mode, which is where healing and relaxation occurs. And one of the most powerful ways to do this is through deep breathing. Our breath is the most powerful thing we have with us, which has been scientifically proven to reduce activity in the amygdala, if that's how you say it, which is the brain's fear center, and the lower the stress levels and the lower the hormones that you have, the lower cortisol that you have in your body. And research from Harvard Medical School actually confirms that controlled breathing techniques can lower the amygdala activity, which again, like I said, decreases cortisol levels, prevents the brain from associating those past memories with the present fear. This means that you can consciously, by practicing relaxation techniques, you can train your brain to stop reacting to the past trauma as if it was to happen now. Genuinely, every time that you feel stressed or feel tensed up, just go into like 10 short breaths and tell your brain to relax. Healing is not about forgetting what happened, it's about teaching your mind that you're truly in a safe place now. One of the biggest reasons I feel like people struggle to move on is because they're waiting for closure. They want an apology, they want an explanation or validation from the person who hurt them. But the truth is that closure is not something that you'll get from others. It's something that you give yourself. If you keep waiting for someone to take responsibility for their action or admit that they were were wrong, you're putting your healing in their very hands. And that keeps you stuck. Psychological research shows that people who wait for the external closure, they actually tend to replay painful experiences over and over again, which strengthens that negative emotional pattern which we don't want in our brain. And on the other hand, those who take control of their own closure, their own healing through self-reflection, acceptance, they heal much more faster. This is because they're not relying on someone else's words or actions to set them free. If you have things left unsaid, because we all do, write them down in a letter, say everything that you need to say, but don't spend more time on it. The purpose is to not get a response. The purpose is not to release the weight you've been carrying. Accept that some people will never apologize or admit to their mistakes, and that has nothing to do with your worth. Holding on to anger or resentment does not change what happened. It only prolongs your suffering, and that's only going to make you, again, suffer. At some point, you have to decide that the peace is more important than proving a point. You don't need an apology to move forward. You don't need someone else to validate your pain. You know that it's real. You know that it's very real inside. So the moment that you stop waiting for someone else to close the chapter for you and close it yourself, you reclaim your power, and that is when the healing truly begins. The day that you start accepting that you have the power to close the chapter and move on is the day that you heal yourself. And lastly, please, can we let go of the identity that keeps us stuck in this loop? If you have spent years identifying with your past pain, letting go might feel just impossible because in a way it becomes a part of who you are now. The heartbreak, the betrayal, the disappointments. If you've been heartbroken a lot of times, you just feel like you're not good enough, and that becomes a part of your identity. If you've carried them on for so long, they might feel familiar, almost like a safety net that I can fall back. Oh, this guy didn't text me back. Yeah, I'm not worthy of it. Or anything. It can be absolutely anything. But here's the problem. What you hold on to is pain. That is a part of your identity. You unconsciously keep yourself stuck in the same patterns. You start seeing yourself through a lens, what happened rather than who you are beyond it. Psychological research on self-concept clarity shows that when people let go of identities tied to past pain, they experience higher level of emotional well-being and self-confidence. This is because they stop defining themselves by what broke them and start focusing on who they can become. If you keep telling yourself, I am broken, your brain will reinforce that belief. But if you start saying, I'm healing now, you shift your mindset from a victimized mindset to growth. Take a minute to ask yourself when you're journaling or just in general when you're meditating, who am I without this pain? Who do I want to be if I'm no longer defined by what happened to me? Write it down. Instead of focusing on what you want to leave behind, focus on the version of yourself you're stepping into. Start making decisions as part of that person. Act like them, think like them, walk like them. You can literally show up like the version of you want to be after you're healed. The past is not your whole story. It's just a chapter, and the moment that you decide to stop carrying it as your identity, you free yourself to write a new one. Healing, again, is not about erasing the past. It's about choosing to no longer let it control you. Every step that you take towards letting go is a step closer to glowing from within and becoming the strongest version of yourself. This is just the beginning, and the next video in my 8-part series is going to go so much more in depth with transforming yourself inside out. So let me know in the comments what is one thing that you're ready to release and let go of today. Let's talk about it. I value each one of you watching, and I'll see you in my next one.